Hey there, my name is Sjöfors and I'm also known as the Price Whisperer. One of the reasons I decided to adopt this moniker was that I was called the Price Whisperer several times, and it's a lot easier to remember and certainly a lot easier to spell and so forth than my actual name that does make sense in Swedish but not so much in English speaking countries. Anyway, what I'm going to talk about today is commodity and decommoditization rather. And I'm doing this from the point of view that there's a lot of companies out there that sells a commodity product of some kind, and they think that's the only choice. They think that my product, my service is identical to whatever's out there in the market, and I just have to do whatever everybody else does. That's obviously not the case. It's the choice you have in any company to accept to be commoditized or decommoditize your product or services. Now, having said that, it doesn't mean that you can always can decommoditize yourself in ways that you can charge twice the prices of competition. But even if you can charge a little higher with a commodity or commodity-like product, it's going to make a huge difference. And the reason is really twofold. First of all, when you do have a commodity or commodity-like product, those are sold on price, or I should say on low price alone. And that obviously leads to the inescapable fact that margins are going to be low, because the lowest price is going to win, right? I mean, that's one of the definitions of a commodity is that it's identical or nearly identical as competition, and I'm talking very nearly identical, and because of that, buyers make their choice primarily on price, because there's no meaningful differentiators. So what it means is that if you do sell a commodity product or commodity-like product, it's about adding a little bit of pricing power, a little bit of higher prices to a little bit of differentiation, so that you can charge a little bit of higher prices, and maybe your margin goes up 10 or 15% compared to what it is today. But those are 10-15% that you then obviously can put back in the company on more market development, maybe even more differentiations by product development or service development, or simply by doing better marketing or more marketing, or maybe even be able to hire the best people that inevitably are going to be more expensive. So I'm not saying that it's going to completely turn around your company, but it's just going to do a difference, right? So you have a choice. That's really my message. Even if you have a commodity product or service, it is up to you to do what everybody else does, and get stuck with really, really low margins, and really always struggle, to be honest. Whereas you can find ways of differentiation that obviously needs to be meaningful for your customers, but there are always ways. Now, what can those kind of differentiations be? Well, let's say that you sell a product, right? And that is a commodity product. Well, maybe you can add services to the product. Maybe you can differentiate yourself by having better product descriptions than competition. making it easier to buy than what it is to buy from competition, making it easier to implement whatever the product happened to be than competition. And I was very impressed. This has happened a couple of years ago. There is this company. They are they're called Hilti. They sell hand tools for professionals. So drills and saws and whatever you have in hand tools for construction people. Those are commodity. I mean, maybe they're or commodity like. They're very similar. The choices people have. And when I looked at their website, they had oodles of services to add value to what would otherwise be a commodity product, right? They had registration services, they had calibration services, they had training videos, they had all different things that helped them to decommoditize themselves so that they could defend higher prices than competition, right? Partly maybe because the company is based in Liechtenstein of all places, which is a high cost area to do any kind of business. So they have to be able to charge higher and more profitable margins and prices, and thereby get higher margins than competition. And and there are all different ways of doing similar things. Being better to deliver the value message is another way you can do this. Let me just tell you a little personal story. I was traveling and with my wife for a little vacation, and we checked in at this hotel, and this is in London. And when we checked in, the receptionist says, "And do you want to buy breakfast every morning?" Right? Because that was not included in the price of the room. And then she continued to say, "If you pre-book and prepay, it's £15 each, and if you do it on the day, it's £17 each." And that was the whole point, she didn't describe the breakfast. She said, "This is breakfast." Well, what does breakfast means? It could mean anything. And having traveled obviously extensively throughout the U.S. in over the last 30 years or so, I know that breakfast in many cases, in many of the hotels that I'm staying at least, is some really terrible coffee, and some very sweet pastries, right? Often served in a you have to open up a little bag to get to the pastries, and it's awful. It's really awful. So that's what came into my mind when she said breakfast, £17. But then after a couple of days of staying in this hotel, we said, let's go down and have the breakfast, because we were just tired. We didn't want to go out and find one of the cafes nearby to have breakfast. And lo and behold, it was wonderful. It was a buffet that was fully stocked with really high quality ingredients, and the coffee was better than any coffee we've had during the trip, and it was just amazing. So and the restaurant they used for breakfast was also a very nice room, So here we have a situation where they have something that is a commodity if you allow it to become a commodity, right? And this particular hotel allowed the breakfast to become a commodity. And a commodity at high prices is not something you want to buy, right? Had they done what is right to do, which is maybe have a description of that breakfast on their website, which they didn't. Maybe having a little leaflet they could show us when they said, "And here's breakfast." Things would have been very, very different, right? Because we then would have known what that commodity, quote unquote commodity, consisted of. So obviously, once we've had breakfast there once, we had breakfast there every day for the rest of the trip because it was so good. It was. I mean, I still think that £17 for breakfast is expensive, but it was really good value, and that is what you're looking for, right? So this particular hotel didn't, they made the choice in the wrong way, probably because the receptionist weren't simply trained, right? Couldn't hadn't been trained and to describe the breakfast or anything like that. And it wasn't that we checked in a hurry. We were the only one to check in, so there were loads of time to describe. I actually mentioned this to another receptionist, a kind of manager, and he said, "Well, but of course, because we have a full kitchen, you have to understand that also there will be a full breakfast." I didn't know they had a full kitchen. I was just checking into the hotel. How would I know? So he also made assumptions about what I knew about the hotel that was wrong, And never forget that an assumption is a euphemism for guessing, and guessing is not a good way of running any business. So anyway, what I'm trying to say here is that even if you have a commodity or commodity-like product or service, there are always ways that you can differentiate yourself in some way, and the choice is yours. Is it more work to differentiate yourself? Yeah, of course it is. Will it pay off? Yes, it will, right? And if you decide you want to run a commodity business, well, good luck. It's not something I want to do. It's a forever struggle, and it's just a. I don't think it's a good business. But I mean, look at this, Amazon. I don't know how many billions they have in revenue, but what I do know is that they have a profit margin resulting profit margin of just about 1%, right? That's what you get in a commodity business, right? 1%, crazy. Anyway, I hope you found this little talk interesting and informative, and